these comedians, but I was in the air last week. I was flying through the airport, and you go through security. And you've all heard it in the news recently, but they call it TSA, which is taking scissors away. But when they first formed that organization, the Homeland Security couldn't figure out what to call them. So they first came up with the idea of the Federal Administration Transportation Airport Security Service. And they printed up 5,000 sweater vests with the acronym FAT-ASS on it, and was wondering why the terrorists didn't quake in their boots. But speaking of FAT-ASS, I was so proud the other day. My wife said, honey, you remind me of a saint. And I said, honey, which one is that? She said, Saint Bernard. I'm old. I mean, it's true. I'm 56. I start to choose my cereal now based on how much fiber's in it, not what toys in it. But I was starting to do some exercising, and we'll do a little bit here in a moment. But, I found that after years of working out, after years of doing these office exercises, of running around in circles, jumping through hoops, leaping to conclusions, spinning your wheels, leaping to conclusions, and dancing around the issues, I wasn't losing weight. So I started doing this CrossFit exercise thing, and I think I got some friends out here from CrossFit, but you want to know that CrossFit is the fastest exercise program, is the fastest way to turn fats, carbs, and sugars into aches, pains, and cramps. And now, if you're just thinking about starting an exercise program and coming up on Thanksgiving, you may want to consider it afterwards. So when you wake up hungover tomorrow morning, or when you wake up after Thanksgiving, you want to start yourself an exercise program. You can all do this right now. You get up, and you start on one side. You go up, down, up, down, up, down. And after 2 minutes, then try it with the other eye. Laughing is good exercise. It's like, jogging on the inside. But seriously, one of my downsides is about 20 years ago, I got diagnosed as being diabetic, and that's a shame. But I came home from the hospital, I came home from the doctor, and I was shaking. I had tears coming down my eyes, my eyes were puffy and red. And I had to explain to my wife, I said, honey, I'm going to have to take one of these pills every day for the rest of my life. And she said, well, lots of people get those kinds of things. It's not all that they're, it's not terrible. And I said, no, you don't understand. He only gave me 5. But the doc asked if I want to live to be 83. And I said, yes. And he said, well, do you drink? And I said, no. And do you eat a lot of red meat? I said, no. Do you go out and fast women and fast cars? I said, no. Do you have wild vacations and bungee jumping? I said, no. And he said, do you smoke? I said, no. And he said, well, why the hell do you want to live to be 83? But my dad is 83, and he's been widowed twice, and he's starting to go out again, and it's starting to get serious. And he turned to his lady friend, and they were talking about finance and grandkids and great-grandkids and religion and wills and where they're going to live, and he's in an apartment in New York. And they started asking, he asked his lady friend, what do you think about sex? And she looked at him and said, well, I kind of like it, but infrequently. And he looked at her and thought a moment, and he said, infrequently. Is that one word or 2?
That's pretty good.
All right, we're starting to get there. I've been married 34 years, and 34 years ago I stood up we stood up on a stage like this, up on a podium in a crowd kind of like this, only they weren't as drunk. And she said I do, and I said I do, and we've been doing it ever since. But a marriage is a union of 2 hearts, and a union of 2 brains and minds, and a union of 2 souls. But damn, they didn't tell me about them union dues. But there is 2 words. The secret to a long marriage is 2 words, and I've known them for years, and it's trust and understanding. And for 34 years, she doesn't trust me. I don't understand her. But When she was 19, I got married, and you know, I could wrap my hands around her. And marriage like that was a long investment. And after 34 years, I've watched that investment grow. And, you know, I said, honey, you know, 34 years ago, we were there, we had a crappy little apartment, and a beat-up old car, and a black and white TV, and a bed with busted springs, but I got to make love to a 21-year-old co-ed every night. And 34 years later, I mean, we got this big house and new cars and an entertainment center and a sleep number bed and all this good stuff. But I don't think you're keeping up with your end of the bargain. And she said, Leib, why don't you go get yourself a cute little 21-year-old? And I'll make sure you have a crappy little apartment, and a black and white TV, and a shitty-ass car, and a busted-ass bed to do it in. That's my time. I'm Leib Lurie. Thank you very much.
Hey, Lurie, everybody. Give it up for him.